Always delighted by the work of my guest on this episode and delighted to be having a second chat with author and creator Nicole Goux. Nicole, welcome.
Thank you very much.
Absolutely. I can verify that you are, in fact, a person who exists in the world outside of books and Zoom. I saw you in person at San Diego, so great to see you there.
Same to you. Yeah, I do exist. Those sources may say differently.
This is the world that we live in. Uh,
Mhm.
Online identities and all the things. But the last time we were talking pet peeves, and you have a really nice range of work out there. You also have Tulip, speaking of online identity versus in-person identity
Mhm.
and things like that. And on this
Yeah.
episode, we're talking about a book called This Place Kills Me. So I've seen some of the pages, I've seen some of the work, and looked through the physical copy when I stopped by your table in San Diego. But congratulations on this new collaboration and this new work.
Well, thank you very much. I'm very excited for the world to get to see it. We've been working on it for a long time.
Yeah, the gestation period for comics and graphic novels tends to be pretty long, and I know that you had a collaborator on this, Mariko Tamaki. So, what was it like working with and collaborating with Mariko?
It was really great. Mariko has been someone whose work I've followed for a really long time. Basically, since I started getting back into comics as an adult, I started with her book with Jillian Tamaki Skim. And her writing just feels honest in a way that I don't often see. And so I've kind of been wanting to work with her for a long time. And it was just really lovely to actually get to have that opportunity. And also, Mariko lives in the same city as I do. And so we were able to meet up in person and get dinners and talk about the story. And so it was a really collaborative process, which, working with writers isn't always. But I always appreciate the kind of more collaborative projects where ideas get heard and there's an exchange.
I think you might be the first guest that's mentioned living in the same city and getting to go to
Mm-hmm.
dinner and things like that. So that sounds like a wonderful collaboration with a meal included,
Yeah, it can be kind of uncommon depending on what part of the industry you work in because people live all over the world and we're all freelancers. So we were pretty lucky.
You've worked in the world of YA
Mhm.
before, so my next question is, what's it like to tap into that world? But I guess as it relates to this particular story and exploring characters that are going through what the characters are going through, and this place kills me.
Yeah, so the book is a YA murder mystery that takes place in like a conservative private Christian academy in the 80s. So the literal kind of elements of the story are a little bit closer to Mariko's experiences. I didn't go to private school. I was very much a public school kid. But I think the kind of overarching themes of feeling isolated and feeling like an outsider and trying to figure out who you are and how you fit into the world around you, those I think are pretty universal, but also track pretty squarely onto my experience growing up. And so I have a pretty strong emotional connection to um, our main character, Abby, who just is kind of dropped into this new place and feels like a complete outsider, both in the school and kind of, in her own element, in her own body. She's not quite sure who she is.
Yeah, you mentioned that mystery element, and mystery is one of the most popular genres, but I'm always curious about the creative process and how it comes together. So, in terms of the mystery aspect, were there parts of that informed your creative decisions and your art process?
Very much so. I mean, mystery is very common in prose books, but it's less common in graphic novels because it can be kind of challenging to achieve when you have all the visual elements kind of giving you clues to what's going on. It can be a little bit harder And so we spent a lot of time working on the mystery of the thing and kind of moving elements around, changing things, making sure that everything kind of felt consistent and that we weren't giving ourselves away too early or that the character beats were making sense. And there was a lot of sort of jigsawing of this project that doesn't always happen, but I think all really went into making the book as good as we could possibly make it.
And it is a nice, like, there's a density to it. I've gotten again to hold it in person. I know it's kind of a book baby when you're putting something like this together. It's a very attractive volume too, and uh, love when I see your work on a page as well. It works really well.
Thank you. Yeah, to be honest, you spend so long making these books and these stories, and they live sort of in this, for me, digital space in my head because I work mostly digitally. And so it is a really different experience seeing the work on the page. And most of the time, um, I am happier with the work in sort of its original form because there are all these changes that it goes through in the printing process. And this is one of the first times where the physical book really just feels like exactly what I wanted it to be and almost better than the digital pages. We put a lot of work into really kind of crafting the physical object. The book designer, Andrea Miller, was just incredible. And I'm so grateful to all the work that she did on it.
Yeah, I know that the book presents in a variety of formats with like letters and different types of style and documentation that way. Was that something that came up in the collaborative process with Mariko? Was that something that Andrea brought to it, or was that kind of an inner working between the three of you?
Yeah, it was sort of an idea that I had. I think I had been reading Dracula, maybe. And so I had this idea of a story sort of told in letters and reports, and um, it kind of worked its way into the story because I think it's a kind of interesting way to reveal a mystery through letters and not always, what your characters are actually doing, but what is being said and whether that stuff is true or not true.
Yeah. Um, once a very popular form. I mean, like Dracula, Frankenstein,
Mm-hmm.
those were epistolary novels, but it's nice to
Mm-hmm.
see it in graphic novel format too.
Yeah, it was fun to do, and I think um, honestly, I would have liked even more of that, but we had so much story to cover that you just kind of have to get all the plot stuff down too.
You were talking about the isolation of the characters and some of those pieces, but anything else that you'd like to add about elements of the story or the process that connected with you, or any particular part of it that you enjoyed creating?
I mean, for me, so much of storytelling is about atmosphere, and I think telling a mystery story is a perfect place to really play with that. And so there's a lot of places where I got to expand on was just written on the page and add some mood and atmosphere and big splash pages and really sort of give the reader a feeling of what this space is like and how isolated it is. Um, and that stuff is just always really fun for me.
Yeah. Yeah. Now, remind me, are you the person who also colors the work, or was there another person doing that on this?
For this project, I drew, lettered, colored, all of it, everything.
You also have a talent for building in striking images and coloring. Notice this across your work. Anything that you'd like to say about how you get into that space and way of thinking?
Yeah, I mean, this book, it's a period piece that takes place in the 80s, and I think kind of your initial idea might be to do bright 80s neon colors, but because of the setting that it's in, because it's a murder mystery, I wanted to strike a more somber mood. And I think the book is all colored in like blue grays and like peaches, like pink. And to me, it's sort of my colored version of sepia, where it's referencing that this is at a different time and different place, but is not, black and white or sepia, but also not, literally referencing the kind of common colors of the time, um, in a way that lends more specifically to mood than it does to like the specific local colors or anything in the scene. Um, and also, the one book that we have in full color is Everyone is Tulip, and I hired a colorist, Ellie Hall, to do that because I just cannot, for the life of me, do a full color book because I am just quite a slow colorist when it comes to full color. So it is really helpful for me to be able to focus on to the values and kind of the uh, specific things that I'm trying to highlight or accent with like a single spot color.
Yeah, yeah. And lest we forget that the 1980s had a lot of really nice thriller and mystery work going on. It was the rise of Jason
Absolutely.
Voorhees and a lot of those characters. So glad to see you tackling that era as well as a kid of the 80s and 90s.
I've watched a lot of Columbo in the last year.
Was there synthesizer music as well, or did you leave that out of your research process?
Not so much. Not so much. So I do love a good electro song.
Absolutely, absolutely. How can you not, right? How can you not?
Mm-hmm.
Before I ask where to find the book and all of those kind of pieces, anything that we've left out of the questions that you want to make sure to include?
I don't know. I'm very excited for people to read it. We've had some really nice reviews coming in, which is always reassuring as an author, especially with a mystery, I think, because there's so much kind of leaning on whether the mystery functions and whether it works and whether people are going to get what we want out of it. And so far, good sign. People are liking it. And I am really excited for everybody to read it because we spent a lot of time and effort making this as good of a book as we possibly could.
Cool. Absolutely. I'm always glad to see your name on a book coming out. And where might we find more information about you and the book itself?
Yeah, so you can find me either at my website, which is just NicoleGoux.com, or on my Instagram, which is at ngoo, and my Blue Sky, which is at Nicole Goux, I think. And the book can be found on the Abrams website or at any local bookstore. You can pre-order it. You can also do the Amazon route, but I recommend bookshop.org to support your local bookstores. It will also be available at the library, but probably not until it's actually out on the 19th. So currently just pre-order, but available kind of everywhere.
Wonderful, wonderful. Well, many thanks, Nicole. Glad to talk with you anytime, and I appreciate the time and the conversation and the delightful in-person chat at your table as well.
Yes, it was very nice to meet you in person.